Hi, welcome to It's an Arsenal Thing podcast. I'm in the gun room. There's no Jay, there's no Paul. Paul's at Leicester Tranmere tonight, so hopefully he's getting ball rotten. But with me is Lauren from a less hot and humid Barcelona. How are you, Lauren?
I'm good. I'm not sweating as much this week, so I'll hopefully be able to string my sentences together a bit more coherently than last week. But all good here. Thanks.
Well, I'm hoping the same, to be honest. Bit of a tense week for all the podcast family out there. It was one of those rush things. I was in Exeter. I wasn't on my laptop, and we had a really duff internet signal as well. So it was what they call rocket fibre. Never heard of them. Must be about £3.50 a month. With me as well is Neil, who got soaked to the skin at the last adventure at Arsenal. How are you, Neil?
I've been better, but I'm glad to be on, and it's a pleasure to be on. So thank you for having me back, Tom, and great to see Lauren again. Didn't think I'd be back so fast.
Hey, thanks for coming on, mate. You're an absolute soldier. You're an absolute warrior.
I don't know about that.
And he's done a podcast earlier on as well. So, yeah, it was what a weekend of football, wasn't it? There was some surprises, so it may put some perspective podders on the result. West Ham, if you didn't see that game against Brighton, that was a bit of a thrashing, really, and complete surprise because Brighton are on the crest of a wave. Really good team. And then Newcastle's capitulation to 10-man Liverpool. Watched that very exciting game for the neutral, but I didn't care what way it went, really. I'm like that. We'll answer your emails and we'll cover the Fulham game, which didn't go according to plan for various reasons. But it underlines that at the start of the season, it can be a patchy affair. And you just have to take what you're given, really. But first, Kieran Tierney has gone to Real Sociedad on loan, no obligation to buy. I'm really disappointed with this loan. I know he's got to get game time and all that sort of thing, but he's a cracking player, Lauren. We're struggling with a defensive line. Why is he gone?
It's a peculiar one. I think it's one that we all saw coming. I don't think anyone was particularly shocked. I'm quite surprised that he didn't stay within the Premier League, or, that he went to Spain. But I think it probably is more of a reflection on, not just an Arsenal-wide, but rather Premier League-wide switch and changing the way the back four plays and having a more inverted or dynamic back four as opposed to an out-and-out full-back.
Have we got that? I'm not sure.
We're trying, but I think it's just, it's nothing to do with the player. I think he's incredible, and what an absolute legend of the club. I mean, that's probably a bit dramatic, but he's, he really, really stepped up when we needed him, and in those dark times he was kind of a shining light. And it's kind of disappointing that everyone tipped him to be the next club captain and everything, and he had all the credentials to be that. I just think maybe, I think it's just his style of play isn't really what fits into Arteta's vision. I think you can see there's still a lot of respect there from Arsenal fans, which is amazing to see from Arsenal as a club as well towards him. Yeah, it's just one of those ones where I think it's probably best for everyone, because there's no point wasting a talented player like that on our bench when, I don't think the style of play is going in the direction that would suit him, unfortunately. Obviously, wish him all the best, absolutely all the best. And, it's not the end of the world. He hasn't been sold, so let's see if he can come back and forge his way back into the team next year. But I think it probably is unlikely with the way Arteta wants to play. But yeah, nothing bad to say. Wish him all the best, absolutely.
It goes to show how technically a side can shift, doesn't it? Hopefully, this is an indicator that he's not going to be sold, because there is no obligation to buy. But it's very disappointing, isn't it? Because he plays with heart. And I like that, and not everybody does.
No, I completely agree. I think what Lauren said is absolutely on the money. The only thing I'll slightly disagree with, it's not a disagreement actually, my disappointment comes from the fact that, all right, we've got rid of him, which is a massive disappointment, because I think at the moment, the way our defence is going, it's starting to, going from flush about 3 weeks ago, all of a sudden now we could be in danger, especially if these Gabriel links are true. We could end up being short on that part of the pitch. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, now we've lost Kieran Tierney. But if we were going to get rid of him, firstly, I think it's best for him, because he deserves to be playing football. He's good. I was one of the ones, Lauren, that was thinking I'd like him to be captain. And the only thing that was stopping that was at the time he was getting injured, unfortunately, and we thought, well, you can't have a captain that's on the on the bench all the time, or on the bed, the injury bed. So I just felt that I think he's a great player with great attitude. He was linking up so well with Martinelli early days. Yeah. I thought he gave us something different. You're right, Lauren. We're going through dark days. It was himself, Saka, and Emma Smith-Rowe that were kind of giving us a bit of hope and a bit of light that was shining there through the club. And it was those three players that were kind of being singled out as the stars or the future of the club. And all of a sudden now, Tierney's gone, Emma Smith-Rowe's been linked. I don't know how much truth there is in that, but it feels, what's going on here? But I feel glad for him. I'm happy for him. He deserves time. And if we were going to get rid of him, and if Arteta's here for the long run, I can't see him coming back as much as we might wish that to happen. So in that case, I'm actually disappointed that we didn't get a good fee for him, because he commands a fee. Sorry. And the fact that we didn't get any money for him, or it's a loan situation, in a way, it's a good and a bad thing. That's the way I see it. But I think we've lost a great player there, personally.
Well, let's just touch on the Gabriel rumour as well. If it wasn't bad enough that Kieran's buggered off, Gabriel, there's talk of him going as well. I mean, his exclusion from this match against Fulham, is that the green light to say that there's lots of bluster, isn't there? Arteta's come out and said he's crucial to the squad. But Lauren, I can't see him going anywhere. He was one of our best, most consistent players last season, wasn't he?
I think he's absolutely vital. If we want to take, to be honest, like, obviously where we want to be this season is pushing for trophies, pushing for the league, and to go as far as possible in the Champions League. Without Gabriel, I honestly don't think we can take that seriously. His exclusion so far has been definitely strange. Even seeing Kior come in ahead of him. Look, I'm just hoping, like we said last week, maybe it's Arteta trying to give the players a run out, get that kind of flexibility into the team. I think this weekend's going to be the big teller. If he doesn't start against United, I think that's pretty much seals the deal, and I think that confirms. I don't want him to go, and I think even when he came on against, was it Palace, he was great, and he seemed really connected with the team, and everyone was cheering together, celebrating together when he had that clearance. I don't want him to go. I think vital, and I think if he does go, that's, we're back to square one almost. We have to kind of rebuild our back four without him. Obviously, Saliba's incredible, but you can have it's a back two pairing, the centre back pairing, and without one of them, I don't think it works. And yeah, I think it's definitely worrying. It's definitely something that we should be concerned about if they're true. But again, it's hard to know. It just seems like everything crazy is going on at the moment. So I don't know until it's confirmed. Until we get that here we go, I'm not going to believe anything.
Well, Neil, as we said there, or Lauren said, Saliba and Gabriel have been the key, the cornerstone of that defence, especially when we're taking corners, or they're taking corners, whoever it is. Gabriel is there organising, and he's a formidable figure to get past. I just don't understand, if he does go, why he goes, because is there a better option than him? No.
It's unbelievable. We haven't had a good central defensive pairing like this since probably Sol Campbell and Carlo Torre. And we've waited years for it. And now we get it. We have one good season with them, all right, albeit Saliba a little bit premature with the injury. He was out a bit towards the end. But when they were together, unbelievable. You just mentioned about the corner organisation, and he was scoring. He scored 2 goals against Fulham, didn't he, in corners, and organising it. And he was missing that one, that chance that Kiwior had at the end. Gabriel might have been there and put it away, and we would have won the game. It's little details like that, and the fact that it's a partnership between Gabriel and Saliba, very much like Partey and Xhaka, and we were thinking Rice is coming to be an upgraded version of Xhaka. That was there. You had White and Saka on the right, and all of that with these new tactics have gone. You've dismantled 3 partnerships, 3 telling partnerships which were working for us, and it's gone. And Lauren, you are so right. For me, the next few days in the transfer market and that game against Man United, I think could be season defining for us. If he carries on in the same vein against Man U and excludes Gabriel, puts Partey at right back, I think that's the way he wants to go. And that to me, seems like curtains for Gabriel. which is unbelievable. He had 70-odd games appearances, only betted by Saka last season and whatever it was before in a run. He was Mr. Consistent, just like Saka. And now he's not featuring. It doesn't make any sense to me. The only worrying thing is our window might end on Friday, but the Saudi window doesn't end until the 20th, which still keeps us kind of like, and just, Lauren, you saw his emotion. You saw his emotion, did you not? When he made that clearance, he loves the club. He clearly loves the club. Why would you want to even consider this? And all right, Arteta's come out and said, look, he's not going anywhere. You know what? I'd love them to have a conference and say, Emil Smith's not going anywhere. Please be assured, rest assured, Gabriel's not going anywhere. I know they might feel that they don't have to say this because it might just all be BS. But the point is, it causes so much anxiety in fans. Just open up to us and just be honest and just say, these rumours are absolute rubbish. These rumours are absolute rubbish. These players we're keeping. What I wanted to see in this window, after we got our business done early, was to see the dead wood going. And it looks like our key players are going more than the dead wood. That's the most ridiculous thing. And, you know, even if Timber hadn't got injured, even if he hadn't got injured, I'd still be upset with Gabriel going. But the fact that he's injured and out for probably the whole of the season, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's crazy.
One that's going to wind you up, Podders out there, if it hasn't wound you up already, is Emil Smith-Rowe, possibly to Chelsea. I'm speechless. I am speechless. That guy, before he got injured, he was dynamic. He was progressive. He's such a talent, and he's one of our own. Why on earth would we sell him, Lauren? Apart from the money, forget the money. Not interested.
I mean, you know, this is
There's even talk.
Strange
sorry,
one.
Lauren. There's talk of a swap.
I saw that actually. I did see that. I thought that was someone making a hypothetical. I didn't realize there was much behind this. Yeah, this is a really strange one because I think obviously with Tierney, it's one of those things you can kind of understand. He's not really fitting into the Arteta mold, and you can see why. This Emil Smith-Rowe one has me really scratching my head. And the only thing I can think of is maybe it is the injury record. He's so young. He's missed a good chunk of the season. Last season, you know, fitness might come into question here, but you think back 2 seasons ago and, you know, he was on par with Saka in terms of how vital he was to the team, how much potential he had. I'm not sure of ages, but, you know, they're in and around the same age, maybe one's a year older, but, you know, you have the base there to build this team, which Arteta seems to want to do, which, you know, the whole club wants to do, is build this really youthful team and, you know, have that there as the base for the long run and be able to add and you know, continue to strengthen. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, even maybe alone, just to get his fitness up, to get that kind of confidence back in, and maybe that's what's missing. Obviously, we don't see what goes on behind closed doors, but the lack of game time he's getting is questionable, and it does make you kind of wonder, okay, what's happening here? I think last season when we saw Vieira feature a bit more and we had a lot of questions regarding him, that was kind of a telling tale that maybe everything wasn't great with, again, fitness, injuries, whatever it is. I would be devastated if he does go, if especially to Chelsea. I think that's an absolute, I mean, I don't even have a word for it. You know, that's one that
fans are going to wear it. To be honest with you, I don't think the fans are going to wear it. He's, as I said, a Highland boy. His heart is Arsenal. Why they would choose to grab the cash, and I'm not even interested in how much it is, to be fair. So it all looks a bit gloomy and stuff. Neil, I mean, just describe what you get with Emil Smith-Rowe.
What don't you get?
Yeah,
you're asking that. I have gone on record to say over a number of pods, a number of tweets, I actually think he had the potential to become even better than Saka. When they first came on together, I thought he was already ahead of Saka. And Saka was doing great things. So it just goes to show how good Emil Smith-Rowe was. I thought he was more dynamic going forward. I thought he had, you know, he could score goals. Saka and himself, alongside, we mentioned Tierney earlier, and possibly Martinelli when he was fit, they were our 4 shining stars. There may have been a couple of others, but they really were in a team that was bereft. We were struggling something chronic, and it was our youngsters that were holding us together. And I think it's sacrilege to even think about getting rid of him. It doesn't matter where. I mean, it's worse still that the links to Chelsea, but it doesn't matter where. It's sacrilege just to get rid of him. And if it's a lack of game time, we have got 3 other competitions going to be starting very soon, and he can feature in those. And if he does well in those, then, you know, you've got to play him in the Premiership as well. The only thing I can think of is unless he himself has said, I'm sorry, I need to go because my career is suffering here. I want to play for England, so I'm not getting chances. It could be that, but we're never going to be privy to what's been said or what conversations are being had. But whatever it is, Arsenal have got to sort this out. They cannot lose a player, a talent as good as that. And all right, if we keep him and then he starts suffering these injuries again, all right, fair enough. But then at least we've tried and we've given him a chance. This way, we're just like, no, it's all right. You know, we're worried about your injury record. It's a good point you made, Lauren, as well, about his injuries. It is a valid point. But I just feel that let's give the lad a chance. You know, you can't, I wouldn't even want to send him off on loan. I just want to see him play. Well, he doesn't need to go on loan. Just get him out there amongst the first team players and let's see how he gets on. Sorry, for me, he'd be a better option than Havertz at the moment. I'm not here to criticise Havertz, but Havertz, I think, needs time, and I think Havertz will be better being a bench player at the moment. That's how I see it. Emil Smith-Rowe deserves a chance.
Yeah, this all reminds me, Neil, of when David Rocastle inexplicably got passed on to Leeds, I think it was. I couldn't, Lauren, you're too young for this, but trust me, it was a
You're going to make me
shock.
cry, Tom. You're actually going to make me cry.
I know, poor old Rocky. I mean, I know he had a few injuries and stuff, but he was never the same player when he left Arsenal as well. He bought us so much, and this is the same thing as Emil Smith-Rowe. Right, let's just mop up a few more transfer things. Douglas Luiz to Arsenal, Lauren. Are you in favour or not?
I mean, are we not linked with him every transfer window?
Just every other one.
Yeah. Honestly, what I'd rather prefer to do right now is focus on keeping the players that we have. I think we built our team early in the season. We got them there. Let's focus on keeping, as Neil mentioned, let's get rid of some of the dead wood. I mean, something else as well. Not to call him deadwood, but Tavares to Forest, I thought that was a pretty good deal. Good for him. I think he's pretty much a Forest player in how he plays. You know, he has moments of greatness and then he's a little bit erratic. I think he's probably more suited to a team like Forest than Arsenal. I think that's a good one to shift as well. I think Rob Holding's also been low.
He was played out of position as well, wasn't he? Because he's not a natural sort of left back, is he?
He never looked good in that position, did he? He had moments of brilliance, you know, higher up the pitch attacking, but yeah, I think probably for the best that, you know, he can find a team where he can, because I mean he did have good moments as well. I mean, obviously we probably focus a bit on the negatives. I think he came in for an injured Tierney, if I'm not mistaken. So you know, big boots to fill and playing out of position, trying to cover that position, trying to cover, you know, someone of that quality in that position is always going to be difficult. But yeah, you'd wish him the best as well. I mean, I think it's a loan, but with a buyout clause, so it's probably him gone. And also Rob Holding has also been linked. I think we'll probably see him go as well. And, you know, another player who no one really has a bad word to say about in terms of character off the pitch. Obviously, performances don't really live up to, you know, how high we hold him to esteem off the pitch. But, you know, you'd wish him all the best as well. And yeah, hopefully we can get that bit of business done and focus on the players that we have and keep that ticking over and keep everyone fit. That's all I want. Is that too much to ask for?
Well, we've got the women's team coming along, haven't we? Let's see how many of those we get back from the treatment table. Right, so let's get on to this Fulham match. We will discuss the partnerships, as Neil touched on there, that are sadly missing, and it's evident they are sadly missing. We will touch on that. Before this match, Fulham had never won an away match against Arsenal in any competition, drawn 6, lost 25. The Cottagers were winless in the last 10 Premier League games against Arsenal, drawn 2, lost 8, and have failed to keep a clean sheet in any of their past 16 games. And before this game, Eddie gets a lot of stick, but he had scored 14 goals in 16 starts at the Emirates Stadium in all competitions. Some think that this result was a dire performance. Some think it was a well-earned point. Where do you sit, Podders? We'll ask you, but we're going to go to Neil first.
Oh, what a privilege.
Yes, sum it up. You were wet, soggy, miserable, fed up. And then, we will get into the game, Podders, believe me.
Yeah, I think for me it was 2 points dropped, 100%. I felt that you know, to come back after such an abysmal start, to actually get back into the game, and that was down to Eddie coming on, and he was absolutely dynamic. So let me just quickly make a comment on him. So I think he would have felt very hard done by not getting a start. For me, I was kind of in two minds about it, because I thought, well, Trossard's got the start that I've been crying for all this time, but unfortunately it just didn't work out for him. Now, whether that's because of his position, whether that's because he didn't have the understanding with Havertz and both of them just weren't in sync with each other, they were getting in each other's way a little bit, I don't know. But Eddie probably could have felt hard done by. But you know what? It was a testament to his character to come on into the second half and play so well. He didn't let it bother him. He'd done a job, and he was magnificent. I think his link-up play has improved. I think his awareness has improved, and he just seems more driven and more energetic. And he seems to be getting into better positions. And what a goal it was! And let's not forget the assist by Vieira, who was magnificent. He was magnificent. He did 5 key things. I've said it on the previous pod, and I'm sorry if someone watches it again, they're going to think, "Shut up, we've said it already." But
don't say it again.
He created that goal. He created the goal. He created the penalty. He created the goal, the assist for the goal. He did that bicycle stroke scissor kick, whatever it's called. He had that other attempt, which Leno parried over the bar at the end. And he also made the pass, which led to the guys getting sent off as well. So, you know, he was unbelievable. I don't know where that's come from. He just seemed more powerful, quicker, sharper, and he wanted to be involved in everything going forward. So, you know, there's a real good argument to make sure that he gets some more time now. And that's another one that's, you know, we're forgetting about the Nelsons of this world. I feel sorry for Nelson now. It's like, it's a good headache to have, by the way. You know, when we're in this position where, look at our bench, wow, look at the players we can bring on. But overall, I just thought that this thing that Arteta is doing, this experimentation or whatever you want to call it, that he's tinkering with, it's just not working for us. Partey at right back. To be fair to Partey, I was watching him. He didn't have a bad game, but it's not his position. He needs to be nearer Rice, and that would really help Rice do what Rice needs to do, which is what Xhaka used to do. You know, why? It's the old adage, isn't it, Tom and Lauren? Why mend something that's not broken? It worked for 85% of the season last season. Why are we now messing around with that formula? Or is it because what Lauren made, a sensible comment, maybe, you know, try and give those squad players a bit of a stretch, get their legs going a bit before, you know, all the other competitions start. It could well be that. And that, if that's the case, that's great. I'm happy with that. But if it's not, then we have to ask questions. You know, the fact that their first goal, if you just touch on that, and then I'll shut up. The fact that you can blame Saka for the pass. You can maybe also attribute some of the blame to Ramsdale, because I know it's become a bit of a key thing with goalkeepers now. But throughout the match, he was so far off his line. At times, you're like really scared. You're thinking you can get lobbed so easily, and maybe one chance out of 5 that will go in. The lob will work even from distance. But it also comes down to the fact that Partey's positioning, because there was a gap there, you see, and that's because of the new system. And I just feel that why eradicate that? Why eradicate the great stuff that White and Saka were doing together down the right hand side? Why eradicate the Partey stroke Xhaka, now it's Rice relationship? And why the most important one, are we leaving Saliba not without his partner? Because Gabriel is the perfect foil for Saliba. They've both got their strengths and weaknesses. I think Saliba is better on the ball than Gabriel is, but what Gabriel does is he organises the defence. He's great aerially as well, and they are the perfect foil. If you look at the history of great centre-back partnerships, you'll always see that they're two very different players, but they both work well together, and we have that magic in those two. So all of those combinations led to a first half, which was, we had a lot of possession, but nothing was coming of it. Leno, bless him, you know, he wasn't the greatest when you shoot. He was a great shot stopper, but you know, some people call him biscuit hands and things. But all we were doing is basically shooting at him directly, so he wasn't having to do much work. So I thought the finishing was a little bit off as well when we did have chances. But I think I think it was 2 points drops, and I'll shut up now. I've just gone on forever.
No, it was brilliant. I loved it. Right, let's get to that team selection, because we are going to moan about this, Podders. I mean, last season, I said to you guys, when Partey, I think he appeared twice as a right back. It's not going to work, and hopefully that experiment ends. Well, it didn't. It was 4-3-3 as Aaron Ramsdale, Thomas Partey, fabulous right back, Ben White, William Saliba, Kiwior, Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka, Trossard, and Martinelli. God, defensively, we looked dreadful, didn't we, Lauren? We're going to go back to this inverted right back. I mean, we'll touch on the goals and all that sort of thing. But that first goal, yes, it was a mistake by Saka, but there was a heaving great space to run into. So it's all right with these inverted right backs if they've got the legs. Partey is not that type of player. He's not a rush merchant. He's not Usain Bolt. And we got caught with our pants down, or at least got a wedgie.
Absolutely. I think we're talking about players being played out of position. One player I want to mention as well is Ben White. I mean, God, we miss him on that right side. In not just defensively, but also I think attackingly, which I'm sure we're going to get onto. But it just doesn't look. I mean, he's a fantastic defender, and he played very well when he came in and covered that centre back role. But we have better options there now. Let him play in the position that suits him best, that right back. It was weird. I mean, I'm kind of getting fed up with these early goals. I don't like it. Three in one calendar year. I'm not able for it anymore. I don't know. It's getting to a point now where it's not a coincidence. It's obviously teams come out and they say, right, Arsenal take a bit of time to get organised. They're going to start. They're going to, gently ease their way into the game, exploit those spaces that are inevitably going to be there because the intensity or the organisation, concentration, whatever you want to call it, isn't there in the first opening minutes. And we've seen it time and time again, even if it's just a few chances that are created. Players know, or teams know how to play against us now. It's getting very obvious, particularly at home. Again, you can point out bad passes, you can point out the spaces that's been created, but we roll back the calendar, we look at the previous goals we conceded, we can pinpoint different players who made the same mistakes. I don't think it's an individual error. I don't think it's the fact that Saka made a bad pass, Partey was out of position. I think it genuinely is just we're really bad at starting games. We're very unclinical, and we wait, and it's like you're never going to see Arsenal score in the counter attack. They build up, they take their time, they do it slowly. We can't be playing games like that anymore because it's becoming very, very predictable, and players know how to exploit those spaces that are inevitably going to be left, as players move around, try to create space in the opposition's half, and then, we're left wide open at the back. Wasn't a great goal to concede, absolutely. To be honest, Ramsdale probably could have done a bit more, could have positioned himself a bit better, but I think it's a bit harsh to put the blame on the three players there. I think it genuinely comes down to a team that lacked concentration in the opening few minutes, and we've seen it time and time again.
For Ramsdale's part in this, I thought he got caught in two minds. He was he didn't know whether it was going to be a lob, which I suppose you would expect as a goalkeeper, but it turned out not to be, and he got caught sort of inside out and back to front. We're going to talk again about this irresistible pairing or trio. White, Odegaard and Saka, that worked perfectly, worked beautifully. And then you had Zinchenko. All right, he's more of an inverted left back, but he does his job extremely well. It's just disrupted Arsenal's balance and flow. So is it putting Partey into right back, and is it to accommodate Havertz? I think we touched on this on the last pod, but it seems that we've got these two problems. To get Havertz in, you've got to play Partey at right back. It's not working. Fed up with it. And we've not been spectacular in our first three games, have we, Neil? We've done all right, patches, and probably flattered to deceive. But it is this question of balance.
Yeah, the balance has been disrupted. The fluidity has been, there's none. We've lost identity. I think we didn't have identity for so many years. People were getting upset. Fans, obviously you have the idiots out there that just take it too far. But there is an argument, a valid argument that what was our identity, and we seemed to get that last season. We not only got our identity, but we also, I thought, started establishing a fear factor in other teams, which we hadn't done for so many years. People were almost like, waiting for the fixture list to come out, and all the opposition teams rubbing their hands together. Oh, when do we play Arsenal? We can exploit them, And all of a sudden, by doing this, whether it's to accommodate habits or it's for other reasons, we seem to have just lost our way. I don't know. It's a bit like, has Arteta, it's like the rabbit caught in headlights. I don't understand what the reasoning is. There is no logic to it, other than, again, going back to what Lauren said, which makes sense. It could just be to flex some of the fringe players or the squad players' legs, and just to give them a run out until the real business starts. I think the Man United game, the more and more we talk now on the pod, the more important Sunday's team selection becomes. It's going to be such a telltale, but balance is so important in any team. It's fundamental. It's absolutely fundamental. And if you start moving players about, especially with the players that were there last season, which are used to playing a certain way, and then you've got all of this new kind of way of playing, this strategy, this tactics employed, and then you've got new faces on top of it, it's very difficult to become accustomed to that during proper game time. And I mean, I can't recall if he tried this in the friendlies. I might be wrong. I don't think he did, but I might be wrong. So wouldn't it have been better to try that out during the pre-season friendlies rather than when the season starts proper? That's the bit I don't understand. That's the bit that is confusing to me. And yeah, all right, look, it sounds like such a negative podcast, but we've got 7 points out of 9. A few years ago, we weren't even winning the first 2 or 3 games before. So we're not in bad shape. But it's how we got those 7 points. They haven't been, overwhelmingly great. You've got to remember we got a penalty to beat Forest. Is that right? It wasn't in free flow, and that's what we're missing. Those beautiful attacks that we're so accustomed to, or Arsenal are accustomed to, they're just not happening at the moment, and that's because of the players we've got and the positions they're in. And I just feel we need to get that back very, very quickly. And Lauren, again, you made another good point. The predictability now of losing a goal so early, and we're on the back. It's not just about losing the goal early. We're straight away on the back foot. We're completely on the back foot. We're like chasing the game straight away. So any plans that Arteta may have had in his team talks before the kickoff is out the window, because now we're having to do something completely different, and that is it's an unnecessary thing to be involved in. I don't understand where this is all coming from, but let's see what happens in the next game. Who knows?
Well, the next game is Manchester United, and you would expect it's up there, Gaff, isn't it? Yeah, it is. No, it's down ours. Oh well, got a bit of a chance then. Got muddled up with the fixture list podders. That happens from time to time. But you can't go in against Manchester United, who, let's be honest, aren't wonderful at the moment, Lauren, but they're doing the job, aren't they?
I mean, they're a very different team to Fulham. One thing I do want to say, I mean, obviously I wasn't in the stadium getting absolutely drenched. I was watching it at home very comfortable. So it was kind of a different experience for me.
Well,
I thought
rub it in, Lauren. Yeah,
just to give context to the different perspectives. One thing I want to say is I thought Fulham played exceptionally well defensively. They looked very, very well organised. And I think, okay, they went down to 10 men, but even then, they had everybody behind the ball. They scored from in fairness, a well-worked set piece. That was the only way they were going to get back into the game. They played very, very defensively, and I think credit where credit's due. I thought they looked good, and they really nullified. Obviously, we didn't really have those moments of amazing chances, or those sparks of wonderfulness that sometimes we need to grind out results in games like that. But I do think Fulham played very well defensively, and I just wanted to say that. Going up against United, I think we're going to play a team that are a lot more attacking, that offer a lot more of an attacking threat. So for me, if we don't play our guaranteed best back, or our proven best back four with a bit more security across the back, with those 3 centre backs, Gabriel, Saliba, and Ben White at right back, with probably Zinchenko or even Kior, I don't really care, anyone who's going to play there at that left back position. If we're not playing that against a strong attacking force in the Premier League, I don't know what we're doing. I really don't know. And I think this is a great game where we can see probably a similar team, obviously without Timber, to what we saw in the what's it called, Community Shield, because I think that probably is what Arteta wants to do against teams that offer slight more of an attacking threat, as opposed to teams that go out defensively against us. Because, I mean, against City we did well. I think that obviously Timber was there. Still upset about that. Still a little bit heartbroken about that injury, but it's fine. I thought Kior did pretty okay. I didn't think he was too bad at all. So let's hope he can slot in there and cover that left back position if Zinchenko's not 100% back to fitness. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's going to be a very different. I hope it's going to be a very different team because we're playing a different opposition, a team that's going to offer a lot more threat when it comes to attacking. Let's just wait and see. But it's going to be a tough afternoon, and I think, as Neil said, we're only a few weeks in, and I don't want to be too dramatic now, but given what happens in the transfer window, what the result from this United game at home, it's probably going to set the tone for the rest of the season. So let's wait and see.
Well, just as we said earlier, is that there were some twists and turns already this early in the season with West Ham and with Liverpool's comeback. So it's not all lost, Podders. There's a long way to go. I just want to touch on what Neil said there. If Mikel is going to experiment, you do it on the training ground to fine tune it, or you do it in these friendlies. Don't try and play this game when it's the serious stuff. Anyway, let's get down to it. Saka gave the ball away in under a minute. We're not beating him up for that. It's just a wrong pass. It happens. And Pereira got the goal. And then Jimenez extended the lead with a brilliant scissor kick at goal. It's just so disappointing. But the game did turn with the substitutions. Substitutions are not Mikel's strong point, Neil, but it changed the game with these ones.
Yeah, he's not known for it, but actually the last two games he's done well. If you remember the Forest game when he brought in Zinchenko and Jorginho, completely changed the flow of the game, and they took control of the game with those two substitutions. And likewise, Eddie and Vieira stand out for me in this one. Lauren, can you make a great point? I keep saying it, but it's true. Let's give Fulham credit. They did defend very well. I think the reason why I was disappointed and I thought it was 2 points dropped is because the way we came back into the game and the absolute ridiculous noise levels in the stadium as a result of that, and that they were down to 10 men, you'd think that we would go on and finish the game off. But we tend to have a habit, and this is another predictability thing about us, we seem to stand off when we're in front. We're just like, all right, we've done the job. No, you haven't. The match isn't finished until the referee blows that final whistle. And now, with the new rules, that could go on for another 10 minutes of added extra injury time. You do not stop until that final whistle blows. You are all super athletes. You've got it in you to stand up tall and keep that pace going for a long, long time. Athletes of today are so much different to when I first started watching football. They'd be in the pub drinking pints with the fans afterwards. You don't get that anymore. They are like proper fine-tuned individuals, so they can sustain that. And I just feel that we just seem to just shut up and stop, and then
we've surrendered two goal leads like that as well. It's been infuriating.
Arguably, that cost us the title last season. 2-0 West Ham, 2-0 against Liverpool, 4 points dropped. I mean, all right, we look forward now. It's all very well to go back and look back, but I just feel that why do we do that? But I just feel that the substitutions, I think, are working a lot better. At least let's give some credit now to Arteta. We seem to be, I'm wondering why these ridiculous tactics that no one has any kind of sense about. The substitutions were magnificent. Eddie could have been so despondent by not getting picked after his performance against Forest in favour of Trossard coming on. But he didn't. He came on and he was like a beast. He was unbelievable. His link-up play is better. He's aware, and everything about him, his awareness, his link-up play, his positional play. It was almost, not quite Jesus levels, but he's getting closer to that. So it's great because, what we always said that we would like to have two quality players in each position. And I think before, Eddie wasn't the answer to Jesus. But now, I think there's a very good argument that he starts against Man U, not Jesus. I really do. And for me to say that, after the negativity that I've thrown in Eddie's way, which, fair play, he's proven me wrong so far in the last couple of games, I think he deserves to start. And Vieira, oh God, I think I mentioned it earlier. I mean, what was he on? Did he have 5 shredded wheat that morning? What was the guy on? It was like a different player. He everyone's moaned about or kind of has said that, look, you need to, even he admitted it, I need to get to the gym and I need to put on some weight. He's admitted it himself. Yeah. So, no one's like talking behind his back. But he looked powerful, he looked quick, he looked sharp. And he was like, he wanted to be on it. He wanted to get involved in everything that was happening. And I'm like thinking, oh my goodness, we've got another selection headache now. So there were some great positives to come out of that game, and 2 of these substitutions were on point. And it could have won us the game. It could have done so very easily. But as Lauren said, they done well. It was a great set piece. They got the point. So it is what it is. But I'm really positive with Eddie and Vieira. Great substitutions.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I haven't seen for a long time a player with that much fire and aggression who single-handedly, almost, Lauren, wanted to, I'll just throw your name in there, Lauren, because I'm coming to you next, single-handedly wanted to win the game. He looked the hungriest person on the pitch.
Incredible. It was like someone switched out his brain for, I don't know, a completely different player. I didn't recognize him. It comes obviously off the back of him scoring the winner in the Community Shield. And obviously, I mean, look, I don't keep bringing it up because I'm not trying to say it's the most important competition ever, but it's proven a few things. It's proved that we can get a win over City, and that, obviously off the back of it, Vieira came into the squad and into the team and played an absolute blinder. Honestly, I also wanted to big him up today, so I'm glad everyone else is on the same wavelength there. One thing I will say is I think this time last year we were probably giving him a bit of stick. We were giving him a bit of a bit of hassle, saying, "Oh God, I can't believe Arteta's after signing this player." It's kind of similar to what's going on with Havertz now at the moment. So even on the bigger scale of things, it's nice to see that Arteta's signings have come to fruition. We just need a bit of patience. I think Martinelli was the same when he came in. He looked very small, very obviously that's not Havertz's issue at the moment, but he looked small, he looked slight, he didn't look strong enough, and within a year, 2 years, different level. So I think there was a lot of positives to take from this weekend, particularly the Vieira glow up. What a game he had. He looked incredible, and yeah, I think he was single-handedly the person who got us the point. And if you think back, if we hadn't have let go of that early goal, we would have been 2-0 up, and it probably would have been a different story. So it all comes back to the sustained 90 minutes, or 97, 98, whatever it is now, minutes of pure concentration.
110.
110, whatever it is. At least we're getting our money's worth.
Everyone gets Fergie time, yeah? Everyone.
But no, it was definitely one of the positives from the weekend. It's been annoying though, because all of a sudden Arteta can make great substitutions. His in-match management is becoming great, but his pre-match selection is dipping. So if we could just find somewhere, the balance in between the two, that would be great. I don't know what we have to do.
Right, well, we are gonna be positive, podders. Well, let's first look at one of the controversial aspects. 50 minutes, Bassey. Is it Shirley Bassey? Probably too young for you, Laura, or too old for you, isn't it, really? Gets the first yellow card for time wasting. It didn't take that long, did he, Neil?
Sorry, I'm on mute button.
I thought he got home. Oh, you're all right.
Beauty of virtual meetings, eh?
Yeah.
I don't.
Is it getting out of hand? Because at this rate, we're going to have 1,000 cards in a season.
Yeah, I don't think the referees are too. The problem with that referees have always had is consistency, and that's always been one of the most gaping negatives about how they referee or officiate games. And this is going to be another one. We're going to get some situations where we're going to point at a situation like this and think, well, really, was a card warranted? Especially when you're going to get the minutes added on anyway at the end of the game, and then you get other ones where the player might even take longer and nothing's given. It's going to happen, isn't it? There's going to be inconsistency, and I think this rule. I'm not so sure about this rule. I agree that we should have time added on where the ball's not in play. I think that's good. It's a good thing, because then everyone gets their money's worth, and it's fair for both sides as well. One side can't take advantage if they're winning a game, couple of 2-by-2 goals, and then just start time wasting, and then the injury time doesn't reflect that. I think this is a great addition to the game, personally, but it's got to be managed better, I feel. And it's hard. I think I haven't got the answer, to be honest, but I just feel that there's going to be inconsistency. So, yeah. I agree with you.
At least we're not talking about VAR at the minute. We're talking about these time wasting, giving the ref an awkward look.
I'm going to be completely honest. I think the best part, recent years, the technology which has played a good part is the goal line technology. I think that's phenomenal. That works a treat. When it comes to everything else, I'll say again, I think what should happen is very much what they do in tennis and cricket and maybe some other sports now, is where each manager gets 2 or 3 challenges per game or per half. And it's up to them to say, I'm not quite sure about that. Can we review it? And a proper review is done where you've got communication. The fans at home and the fans in the stadium can hear what's being said, because they do that in cricket. I think they do that in, well, tennis, you can see it with the, where they do the simulation, don't they, if the ball is out or whatever. And I think that would be more effective and a fairer way. And then if they use their challenges and it's finished, then that's it, job done. But I know that might sound like it's going to slow the game down, but we're slowing the game down anyway now with this added minutes for ball not in play time. So I think that would be a solution. I know I haven't really answered your question. I completely agree. It seemed a bit harsh, but I think it's just going to be inconsistent, 100%.
Right, let's get to the rub, shall we? Let's get these goals underway. What did we have first? It was the spot kick. So Vieira, reckless challenge in the box, easy decision to make. It was, wasn't it, Lauren, by a country mile?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty poor tackle. I think it was probably covered by the other defenders as well. I don't think Vieira was really running anywhere.
He was running into trouble, wasn't he?
Exactly. So he played a blinder. He did very well to get something out of that situation. Easy penalty, no issues with that. Yeah, that's all I have to say there. That was one of the clear-cut decisions.
The star boy, Neil. I mean, he's had his duff penalties, but he was bang on it, wasn't he?
No, just full of confidence, isn't he, that lad? You know, you can't. What is he made of? It's just insane. He's just won Young Player of the Year, isn't he, as well, apparently? Yeah. So it's thoroughly deserved. It would have been ridiculous if it was anyone else. I think well done, Saka, and it just shows what hard work gets you. And he's fully committed to the cause. He's fully committed to himself and everything. And it just shows in what he does on the pitch. And one of them is, you know, he could have been completely destroyed mentally after what happened to him in the Euros and all the horrible nastiness that came out of it when he missed that penalty. And yet he comes back and he just takes it with aplomb. And, you know, he's missed a couple recently as well. But no, it doesn't let it bother him. I think that the fact that the last game when he handed it to Odegaard, I think that was a tactical thing just done by the players. I don't even think the manager was aware. I think Arteta was aware. They probably thought, you know what, they probably practice penalties with you taking it. Now I'll take it instead and through. So I think that was great. So for him to come back from that and say, right, now it's my turn again, and he just takes it beautifully. What can you say about the guy?
He's got an old head on young shoulders, hasn't he?
Oh, my God.
72 minutes, then Nketiah scores, but Fulham were fuming because Bassi was down. I thought he made a bit of a meal of that, but Eddie was blistering. He took his chance, and some have likened him to Ian Wright. I know that's sacrilege, but yeah, I mean, the pace, he hit the burners in the right spot at the right time. Glorious goal. This must do the world of good for his confidence, Lauren, mustn't it? Because we've been on the podcast and had a little moan up about him.
Absolutely. I mean, again, not to pick him up, but what a peach of a pass from Vieira. How he got that ball to his feet. Wow, incredible.
Didn't I?
Don't worry, I've got that there. Insane. What an assist. And yeah, Eddie made it look easy. That's exactly what we needed. We needed 2 players with a lot of fight, with that passion to get us in front, and I think that's exactly what those 2 brought on, what they brought when they came on. Yeah, not much more to say. It was perfect. Every from the moment the ball left Vieira's foot to go in the back of the net, it was picture perfect.
Well, I'll tell you what, old Bassi, it wasn't his game, was it? The most blatant body check in the 83rd minute. You didn't even have to refer it, did you? I mean, he just looked at the guy and just took him out. I mean, it was just senseless, Neil. No arguments, was there? Have you muted yourself again?
Sorry.
I tell you what.
iPad, it's just like, anyway, sorry, I'm back. No. But again, who was it? Who made that pass that caused that? It was Vieira again. It was the Vieira. It was a one-man show when he came on. One-man show. Unbelievable. Oh, my God. I think I've fallen in love with him. He's great. He's got to start on Sunday. That's it. Job done.
The pod is called Fabio to the Rescue. And
there you go.
all, isn't it?
thoroughly justified, in my opinion. Man of the match without a doubt, even though he only played part of it. That sums it up, doesn't it, really? But yeah, Vieira made that pass, and I don't know what the guy was thinking. That was a blatant foul, and it was his second yellow, was it? I think.
Yeah. Second yellow. Off you go. Tatar.
So goodbye, cheerio, and that's when I thought, right, we're in control, and that's when we should have taken advantage. But unfortunately, we didn't.
Well, you don't win Premier League titles if you, if you faff about. And as we said before, if you've got 10 men, you're at home. It's the advantage, and you could really skewer them. But we didn't. 87th minute. We'll touch on the crazy defending by Arsenal. Palina scored the equaliser. Now, what bugs me about this, Podders, you're going to cop it here, is the flat-footedness, rooted to the spot. I think I counted 7 players across a line there. No one sort of went forward, and he just got a sweet volley in. Fair play to the player, but we didn't make him work for it, did we? We handed it on a plate. Lauren?
Sorry.
I forgot who I was giving it to.
It's okay. Yeah, it was a tough one to watch. It did look a bit clumsy. It looked a bit, just that lack of concentration again, just taking things for granted, not really paying attention. It was a good finish, I have to say, well delivered ball, but it hurts to give away goals like that, particularly at home. I mean, I'm kind of getting sick of the lack of clean sheets we keep at home, the ease it is for teams to come and score. And, like I said, Fulham defended exceptionally well, but going forward, they didn't offer much of a threat, really. They didn't have any striker, any attacking player that looked particularly dangerous, and yet they still came away with 2 goals on the day and a point. That's what's frustrating, I think, and that's why I can understand why people are saying, look, it's 2 points dropped, or, it's a disappointing result. It was frustrating. Good finish, good delivery, but definitely poor from our players. And how many goals we need to give away from set pieces. But again, I think it's probably missing Gabriel, which isn't helping, because he is that rock at the back who makes sure everyone is organised. He's very loud, very vocal, which I think Ben White isn't really like that. Saliba isn't either. So yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that we need to look at and that we can improve at home. And I think defensive organisation and concentration from the first minute to the 110th minute, whatever it is, that it's sustained throughout, and that we have those voices there that can organise and make sure that everyone's where they need to be throughout the game. That's 100% what we need. And all we can do now is hope that come Sunday, in the next coming months, injuries provided, that we get that and we see that happening again on a regular basis, and no more experiments. We're done now.
Right. Before we go to the IAP person of the match, player of the match, what do you call it these days? What's correct? Chris K. Bell, Noel Roberts, and Kelly Ince. We send you our love, and you will know the reasons why we said that, but we won't say it on the podcast. So I think we're all going to be fairly unanimous on this. Player of the match, Lauren? Whoa.
Do I need to say it? Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you for letting me go first. I got the easy option. I don't have to be creative or think, but it has to be Fabio Vieira. And I mean, what a performance. Great to see a player who had so many questions over him last season. People were calling for him to go on loan, asking for him to get a bit more experience before he came to the league. Arteta's shown once the player's there and he's dedicated and he's ready to work, that Arteta will give him the chance. And even when the fans are calling and saying, we've better players on the bench, we have Smith Rowe, we have this, that, the other, you can see why Vieira has been so trusted. And to be honest, I'm really delighted that he had such a great game. Really excited and excited to see what happens throughout the rest of the season. I think some of the cup games, maybe some of the Champions League games as well, when he gets a chance to have a run out, we're going to see a very, very good player on our hands here, and it's nice to see. Absolutely, I think it's a tough position to be in contest for with Odegaard, and it's hard to see him starting week in, week out. But let's see, there's definitely enough opportunity for him to get another run out.
Neil, soon. I'm a Fabio fan for this week on the player of the match. Yourself?
It's just echo what Lauren just said, but for me, him outstanding.
And Podders, sorry to interrupt, Neil. 40 minutes he was on the pitch and he played like that.
Unbelievable, eh? I just think he was player of the match by a mile. But
Yeah.
I do want to, while I'll say Fabio, I do want to give Eddie a shout because I thought he was tremendous as well, and he deserves it. He deserves it. I think, you know, I've given him a lot of stick, not in a bad way, but I do see, I say what I see, and I just feel that, you know, when a player does step up, you got to give them the credit that they're due, and he just certainly, you need to give him credit, especially in the last 2 or 3 games he's played. Whatever he's done, he's looking a lot better than he has done. I think that I've ever seen him. I think he's just taking the Jesus role with aplomb, to be honest. Can I just rewind a little bit and just go back to that goal that we conceded? I think it was it Zinchenko that gave the ball away as well? Yeah, and you're right. There were so many players just stuck. They didn't move, and you know, Rice could have done better. Arguably, Saka could have done better. But it's just, Lauren, you're right. It's the concentration levels. Exactly what we showed in the very first minute, and then we showed it at the end of the match. It's ridiculous. It's not professional for me, to be honest.
Right, let's upbeat. Neil, are you all right to stay with us? Because Neil's not been very well chappy, so if he wants to go.
I'll stay a little bit longer, but if I shoot off, I'll probably go off to make a hot toddy or something.
Well, yeah, we'll just keep nattering. Don't worry about us, Neil. You get yourself sorted. Le Grove came out with something quite good. Arteta and Edu are trying to create a winning machine that can do it for a decade. That requires some short-term pain, but long-term will be more like Manchester City than Liverpool, who rapidly went into decline after winning the league because they had an old starting 11. No one will complain when we arrive at the promised land, but there will be some bumps along the way. Mistakes will be made, loads today. There will be shit performances, very accurate, and there will be some terrible experiments that won't work. But I think we've seen enough from Arteta to know he'll get it right in the end. Does anyone concur with that, Lauren?
Yeah, I think it's well put. It just seems like the mistakes that we're making, the decisions that are being made are unnecessary, that we're making things difficult for ourselves. I think that's where the frustration is stemming from. But you know, I think even last season we got so close and we just missed out at the end. But I think we could all see the direction that the club's going in. The fact that we were able to re-sign basically the core of the starting 11 last season, getting some really key signings, Rice, Trossard obviously last January as well. Things are going in the right direction, absolutely. I think the frustration comes from, why are we making it difficult for ourselves? Why do we always make it difficult for ourselves? And I think that's just life as an Arsenal fan, isn't it? It's just what we do.
That's why we named the podcast It's an Arsenal fan.
Exactly.
You do get your ups, but you get your downs as well.
Exactly. I think it's inevitable. It's part of the journey, but I think it's very well written. And look, 7.79. The only team that have gone 9 out of 9 is City, and they've played 2 teams who've been newly promoted. So let's not lose our heads. Let's stay calm and keep going. Who wants to be on top? We were on top for so long last season, and it didn't work in our favor. So I'm happy to take a back seat this time around and see how that goes for us.
Right, while we've been puffing up Mr. Fabio Vieira's chest, are we going for him, Neil, in this United game? Because he kind of feels like you should do.
Why not?
At the expense of Mr. Havertz?
Why not?
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. Lauren, would you go with it?
As long as the defence is back to what we're used to, why not? Because it was extraordinary. I don't know what, honestly, I'm not going to say any more. We've said enough, but it's just extraordinary. Yeah, I think it wouldn't be a bad decision to make.
A straight swap for Havertz, or what are you thinking?
I think he will help the left. You see, the thing is, what I've noticed, we're still very, very Saka orientated when we play, very right-sided. We rely on Saka a lot. I think a little bit too much. We're right to do so because he's an extraordinary player and he does things for us. But I think in order to really mess with the opponent's heads, we need to be more balanced. We need to be more left-side orientated as well. I feel sometimes Martinelli's left out dry, although he's got such an exceptional talent. He's got so much energy and he can do magic things with the ball at times and at pace. But we're not exploiting that talent that he has because he's so right-sided. And I think if we have Vieira there, and he's more left-sided, isn't he? I think that may help. I think that may really help change things. But let's see.
We need to join up the dots, don't we? That's the problem on that left side.
Can I just say one thing very quickly, Lauren? When I was there and I was watching it, I saw these huge gaps in midfield. I just didn't see the link up between the defence and the attackers at some points. I might be wrong. This is, it's all about perspective. And the ad I was looking at, it was difficult. But there were times where, and even the guy next to me was saying, "Look at the gaps in midfield." I was going, "I know, it's crazy." So, if you have the likes of Vieira and whoever it is there.
Have you got a window open, Lauren? I can hear.
Oh, can you? Sorry, I'm nodding my head so vigorously. I think I'm creating a draft. Sorry.
So, I think it might not be a bad shout, having Vieira. I don't know. I mean, I can't see it happening. Can you guys? But it wouldn't be a bad shout.
I think it has to. We need some. Yeah, I think we need some sort of energy. And we saw that in him. We need a few changes for sure in personnel. I totally agree with you. Like all the podders out there, we need that back four reinstated. We need Ben White back to. Well, I mean, we didn't realise that he could play as a right back, but the connection between Odegaard and Saka is sublime. Get Zinchenko in, get Fabio Vieira in, and link up with Martinelli, and it's a wicked combination. It's just who goes up front. Who do you go with, Nketiah or Trossard? That for me is the number one sticking point. But I'd probably go with Nketiah just because he seems like he's on a roll. But right, let's push on to some emails. Kate said we'll go back to the Spanish fiasco in a bit, but I just want to explain myself. She's talking about me, by the way. I found your attitude to the whole thing disgraceful. Laughing at that type of behaviour encourages it. It wasn't that, Kate. It is Kate, isn't it? It wasn't that, Kate. I was just completely shocked and mesmerised that someone in this day and age could actually do what he did. So, as I say, I'll come back to that with Lauren. Stefan said, just as Jorginho had to suffer the criticism from fans, it's now Havertz's turn. Are we blind to players' skills just because they used to play for Chelsea? Jay, at least, had a balanced view and open mind. Neil, we haven't really seen a lot of him, have we, to get sort of rapturous about?
I'm not criticising Havertz. I don't think it's him per se. I think it's this new system, and the players that are already familiar with what we were doing last season are also having to adjust this new system. Then you've got other new faces having to. It's not working correctly at the moment. It's not just down to Havertz. You can't just sit there and point your finger at him. I think it would be better for him coming on as a substitute. I don't think he's quite ready to be first team selection just yet. When we have got other options, look, we've got Vieira now. We've got poor Emil Smith-Rowe that's not even getting a look in, and there's the links to him of going. As we just can't let that happen. Can't let that happen at all. But I just feel that yes, sometimes fans can be overly harsh or over the top, but everyone's passionate. Let's not forget, we're passionate fans. We do things maybe or say things sometimes on the spur of a moment just as a reaction, and it's because we care for the club and we love the club. I've been guilty of it many times. I can't help myself, but it's because I care and love the club. And you're sometimes blinkered in the moment and you're not seeing the bigger picture. It's like that article that you just referred to. I completely agree with that. But I will say, just to throw a bit of devil's advocate into it, I still want things now. We're a team it feels like we've been in transition for years, for so many years. It's about time now we started doing things now as well. Yes, it's all well and good to build for the future. Of course it is. And we don't want to be Liverpool 2.0. But at the same time, we want to start seeing things happen now as well. So while I agree with that article, I still think that, that doesn't mean, all right, it's an excuse not to win anything or not be challenging. I'm not a trophy hunter, by the way. I just want to see good performances. And that needs to be happening now as far as I'm concerned. We've got a good enough squad to do that.
Quite a big mailbag.
How close we got. Sorry, I think how close we got last year as well. If we're not making those steps forward and progressing even further, it's for every 2 steps forward we make, it's a step back, and at that point you kind of have to start questioning. Okay, it's not that we're not happy to be where we are, but we expect more at this stage, and the resources are there. It's not as if we're trying to pay off our stadium anymore. And I mean, we've shown in this window that we're willing to go out and spend money on players. So it does become, I think it's a valid frustration to have. And I think it's a great point, Neil, absolutely.
Right, we've had, as I was saying, a bit of a bulging mailbag about Jorginho. He's kind of getting the rub of the green at the moment. I don't know what he's stepped in. Banks says Jorginho showed superiority and composure when in possession on the ball. He didn't rush a pass. He was close to minimise the possibility of losing the ball for his team. A perfect choice to relieve the pressure of on Mikel Arteta. Jorginho's role this season has not declined at all, but on the contrary, it's increasing significantly. Go along with that, Neil? He does kind of bring the tempo of the game down, doesn't he? Stifles it a bit.
He's actually one of the Chelsea players I've liked from day one. I love the fact that we got him in. I think he's a very clever signing. I mean, I think this was when we were having to have Jorginho instead of another target, which we didn't quite get. I can't remember who it was now.
Luis, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. And we didn't get Mudryk and we got Trossard in. And I thought both Jorginho and Trossard were brilliant signings, absolutely fantastic signings. Jorginho, for me, is the epitome of calm. He's brilliant on the ball. It's hard to, once he's got the ball, he's got so much control. It's hard to get the ball off him. And you need him in those situations where we need to take control back in the game. Say we're losing that bit of control. I think he's going to be an exceptional asset to have in the Champions League. He's that kind of player where we will really need him in the Champions League, and I think he's going to do brilliantly in that. And I'm so glad we've kept him, because there was something going around that we're going to let him go this summer gone, and I'm like, no, you can't. He's got another good season in him, maybe even two, but we've just got to keep him. I think we initially got him on an 18-month contract, if I'm right. I'm not sure. Let's see the contract through. If you don't get anything for him at the end of it, I don't care, because I think he's going to prove his weight in gold. Definitely. I think
I'd stick another year on that because of the
Champions
League.
I would. Easy. He's brilliant. I like him a lot.
Right then, Lauren, we're going to pick up on this Spanish fiasco. Hermosa insists she didn't consent to the kiss. 81 players have boycotted the national side. Spain saying that they've got an obligation to play for the national side. The entire coaching staff from the World Cup win, except for the manager, have resigned. God almighty, it's a mess, isn't it? He's got to go. I don't know. Has he gone already? You're in that neck of the woods, Lauren. Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, it's become more than a joke at this stage. You know, obviously, I'm actually really disappointed, because I think in terms of the World Cup, it was an incredible tournament. It was absolutely phenomenal. It's one of the best World Cup group stages I've ever watched, men or women's games. The quality of the football played was second to none. It was exceptional, and it's all been overshadowed by this whole fiasco, which is spiraling out of control, and it's making an absolute mockery of the game and of the women's sport. And it really enrages me, because it's just frustrating. This is what everyone's going to remember this World Cup from, and it's pretty much based on a handful of people's actions, and it's really, really upsetting. I mean, I'm not sure how up to date everyone is with it, but it's spiraling out of control here. Obviously, like you said, Tom, that was a perfect summary. I've been trying to keep up to date with it myself, but it's just been impossible. Yesterday, it came out that the Spanish president's mother had locked herself in a church and she was going on hunger strike because there was a manhunt. Yeah, you know, casual. I mean, it's just it's crazy, and it feels like an episode of the Kardashians rather than we're talking about a professional, a professional football organization. It's beyond disgraceful at this point.
Sorry to interrupt, did you hear the one where the Spanish FA were going to take her to court for lying?
Yeah, so basically the Spanish FA came out and, you know, she made a very clear statement. We've all seen what happened. We've seen her reaction post-match in the Instagram clip. She said, look, I did not consent for this, and I felt uncomfortable, and they came out and they said basically everything that Jenny Hermoso says is a lie. Don't trust her. We're going to sue her for defamation, whatever it is. It's an absolute scandal. It's an absolute disgrace that a professional body that is represented not only by UEFA but FIFA feel confident enough to say this about their players. And I think it reflects poorly on football as a whole, the whole organization, because, like I said, this is a very select handful of people who've destroyed this for, you know, I'm going to say millions of people who watched the tournament, the hundreds of people who are involved in it. It's absolutely vile. And Spain came out and they made people very publicly aware of this issue that they had. No one took it seriously, and now it's been absolutely blown up on a global scale, and it's getting the the backlash that it deserves. Has he stepped down? Not as of yet, but I believe that it's coming. But again, we thought that was going to happen last week. Sorry, this is the manager now, Vilda. We thought he was going to step down. I believe the Spanish president has been suspended by FIFA for the next 90 days. He's not allowed to have anything to do with football. But it's funny because he's a vice president of UEFA and they haven't come out to say anything at all. So it's all very conflicting. It's all very confusing. Like I said, it's an absolute shambles. It's a disgrace. It should never have got to this point. It's made an absolute mockery of not only the women's game, but football as a whole. And I think, I think the bigger organizations need to step in, FIFA, UEFA, and they need to say, look, we don't stand for this. We need to kick this out. The lack of regard for players. I mean, it's just basic common sense. You're meant to be there for your players, regardless of what gender they are, what they're going through. You're meant to be there. You're meant to represent them. And that's the opposite of what they're doing. They're coming out saying she's a liar. I don't know. It really infuriates me. The whole situation has gone beyond. And honestly, if you're looking for something to keep you entertained, for a bit of drama, try to keep up to date with it. I can't take it seriously anymore. And not in terms of what the actions that have gone on, but in terms of the reactions that have been taken in response to this. I'm really fed up with it, and I think power to the players. They've done the right thing. My only question is, the people who are staying on. So, why are they staying on? What do they have to lose, to gain by staying on? They're ruining their reputation. They're ruining the reputation of not just themselves, but of their entire nation. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's much more I can say about that. It's a disgrace. It's awful, and I hope that more serious steps are taken to prevent this from happening in the future.
Absolutely perfect. We leave the last word on this one. We've got 2 more bits, podders. Hang in there. Get the kettle on, but hang in there. Jackie says, despite all the recent advances in the women's game, it's clear to me that is through gritted teeth and there's more left to do. Let's not kid ourselves that to level up the playing field in terms of pay conditions is going to take years, and it seems those in charge are secretly hoping that the women's game is just a passing phase so they can get back to concentrating on the men's game. So I think we covered that nicely. Right, so hopefully he'll get sacked. Whoosh, P45, off you go. What's the on your bike? What's the Spanish for that, Lauren? On your bike.
I'll come back to you next week with the translation, okay?
I'm disappointed. Right, let's move to the United game. What's our feelings on it, Lauren? We'll stay with you for now. What sort of game do you see? Do you see it being cagey first 45 minutes and then or do you see it all cut and thrust?
I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's probably a diplomatic answer, but I think they're 2 teams that probably haven't really hit their stride yet. I think both have had pretty cagey starts. I think United did very well. I mean, we talk about us conceding a goal in the first minute. They conceded 2 and 4. I don't think overall I'm too threatened by the team, but I think they probably, in terms of the season long, I don't think they're quite where we are as of yet, but I do think, you can underestimate them going into a game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very hard. I think we need to expect a lot more of an attacking threat. That's why I'm hoping we see a bit more of a defensive, defensive structure at the back. We're talking about, Vieira playing. I wouldn't mind seeing Rice and Partey playing in the midfield to give us that bit more of the solidarity that we've been missing. And then, bring on super sub Fabio Vieira in the second half like we did this week, and he can take the game by the scruff of the neck. I think it's going to be tight. I would probably favour us. I think maybe we could end up with a draw, but you know me, I'm terrible at predictions, so who knows. I think anything less than a draw I'd be disappointed with, especially at home.
Well, I'm going to go all out there. I'm going to be super, super positive. 3-0 to Arsenal. I think we're going to run them off the park. I think we need a performance. We need to show some intent to keep Man City on their toes. Neil, how are you feeling? You're super positive, Neil.
I know I am very positive. I tend to be, because I just feel that there's no point being negative before a game, as you just never know. So I agree with you, Tom. But again, Lauren's made points which are just perfect, spot on. I feel that Vieira should get some time, whether it's be substitute or even starting. I don't know, but Vieira's just, you can't exclude him. You can't exclude Eddie. You know, any manager has to play their best players on form in their best positions. It's simple as that. It's not rocket science, right? You just play your best players in their best positions and they're ones who are on form. That is the winning formula for me. That it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But then at least you're giving yourself your percentages are up. If you do that, for me, he's got to dismiss this system that he's been playing in the first 3 games. He's got to go back to basics. I want to see the back lineup that we've been used to seeing, as what Lauren described earlier. It just doesn't make sense. I want Partey and Rice to be near each other, so that Rice can do what he can do, and I want to see some really good creativity from the Odegaard's, Vieira when he comes on, and then some great finishing. So I'm going to go 3-1 only because we're just struggling to keep that clean sheet at home, and I don't know why, but who knows? Maybe with Gabriel hopefully starting, it won't happen. But I'll err on a little bit of caution. I'll go 3-1, and I want Martinelli to score.
Absolutely. Love Martinelli, brilliant player, but he's got to get the service. You've got to play Martinelli. You've got to play the ball in front of him so that he can run onto it and do his little dazzly bit. That's what you got to do. One thing I will say, Potters, is I'm not a fan of Martin Odegaard being substituted. He's the captain. I don't understand this modern thing where your captain comes off. Your captain is there when the ship's burning. He's got to be there on the deck. I just don't get it at all. One last thing for you, Potters. I know you're itching for a cheese sandwich and a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or a beer. But the Saudi League, I'm just throwing this out there because the Super League hasn't gone, right? The Super League is just on the back burner and it will come to the forefront again. The Saudis are buying up loads of players. They're creating this interest and all the rest of it. Is there any chance of them actually sneaking into the Champions League somehow? Because it's all about that, isn't it? Neil? He's muted himself again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, it's to be expected, mate. You're a bit poorly, and it's a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, I'm starting to flag a little bit now. For me, money has ruined sport in general. It's as simple as that. And it's getting worse. I thought at some stage the bubble has got to burst, but it's not. And I remember this has come from the American sports with baseball and basketball, where players were earning fortunes. The ones on top, and all of a sudden then it leaked into the game of football, and then Sky took over and all of that, and it's just grown and grown. And you think, wow, players being sold for 200-300 million. I mean, no one's worth that money. I don't get how great you are. You can have 10 Messis and they're not worth 300 million, but it's ludicrous, earning 500,000, a million a week. I mean, all of that. And this Saudi thing is just going to make it worse. And I'm really worried about the future of the game because, if all the players, all the top talents are going to start going into this league, and a Super Euro, remember when it was announced that the top clubs had gone down that route, and then very sheepishly Arsenal came there without apology, saying, "Oh no, we've listened to the fans, and this is just backlash." I don't want it to go down that route. Keep the format the way it is. There's enough money in the game as it is. We don't need more. But I just feel money corrupts, and it's going to work. The
simple thing is, who can afford, to have these games with flying out to Barcelona, flying out to Bayern Munich, and all that?
No logistical sense whatsoever. It's an outrage. For me to even go to the Emirates, if you want to see the top tier games, you could be spending over 120, 130 easily. Not just for the ticket, of course. You got your travel and a bit of lunch, whatever. Cost of living is going up and up. Mortgages are going up and up, or rent, or whatever situation you're in, and this is so unfair. And then what? And then you're going to have to start getting tickets to all the European destinations to watch your favourite team. It's ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah, Lauren, what's your thoughts? Saudis I feel they're going to muscle in to try and buy their way into the Champions League. It's going that way. It's a horrible thought because I won't be able to pronounce half the teams, but I won't be able to go and see them either.
No, I know exactly. I think you just have to look at what's gone on in Spain. Obviously, we've spoken about the corruption and the madness that goes on here, but you see them hosting there. I think it's the Copa del Rey, their equivalent of the FA Cup final is now held. I'm not sure exactly where. I think it might be Saudi, is it Dubai? Somewhere really random anyway, and it's basically just because of money. And we're just going to see more of it happening, I'm afraid. I mean, look, it's already in the game. Look at the sponsors on our shirt. We fly Emirates. You look at City. I mean, our stadium's called Emirates, the Emirates Stadium. I mean, there's no escaping
Not on
it.
this one. This is a diehard old school one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it should be. But no, unfortunately, it's kind of crept up on us, and I think now we're going to see the real, the climax of it happening. It's inescapable. It's absolutely inescapable. We're going to see the Saudi clubs 100% in the Champions League, 100%. I think within the next 4 years, I'd say they're going to be thereabouts. Look, it's annoying. Obviously, 100%. It's annoying. The only positive we can take is it's going to be more teams with great quality that we can watch week in, week out if it's just from TV. Obviously destroying the game, I'm not a fan of it, but if we're to take one thing from it is, I suppose a more varied talent pool, and hopefully, maybe we'll see more local players from there coming through. I doubt it, but I don't know. I'm trying to play devil's advocate, guys.
Why Ronaldo went over there, and he must have been told that there was a chance of playing in the Champions League again. It must be about 57 now, Ronaldo. But anyway, let's just end on this bit. Well, there's a couple of bits. Mbappe, while we're talking about the Saudi thing, if he had gone there for a king's ransom, I mean, it was something like 200 and something, 300 million, wasn't it? How do you actually leave that club unless you see out your contract? There was no chance of anyone else buying him, so that's why he turned it down, isn't it, Neil? Too much money. I mean, he's basically locked himself in to a contract that no one else can afford.
Oh, no one can afford it. It's just stupendous money. It's just money that no one can even imagine, and it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And I fear. I think Lauren, you're being very pragmatic, and rightly so. And that's he makes some good points again. But I just feel that it could really also devastate our game as well. It really could. It could go either way. And I'm really concerned that these amounts of money, it could even affect kids' lives. Young kids seeing this, they're like, right, I have to get into football because I could be a multi-billionaire. Forget millionaire these days. It's about the billions. And then when it doesn't quite work out for them, what does that do to their mental state and their condition? No, I'm not for this at all. I think it's the wrong thing. We're going in the wrong direction. It's probably got to the point where now it's just manageable, but I think it'll become not manageable if it goes, to the nth degree. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm sorry.
Guys, it's been absolutely brilliant to have you both on. Neil, you are always, as you know, we've chatted, one of my favourite guests to have on here because you're always very positive. But not only that, your opinions are really sound. And I'd love to hear your opinions on the game and Arsenal in general. Lauren, been brilliant to have you on. Guys out there, we will be back with Pod 98. We're creeping up to that 100 mark. And it's been a long old slog, but the guys will be back at some point. Paul, I hope you saw what football was about because you're an Everton supporter and you probably don't really know what it's about anymore, do you, mate? And Jay will be back from wherever. North London is red. See you later.